Hello everyone, good evening. I trust and hope you're doing really great. So we're going to be talking about our disturbance Invest 91L, which is out there. There's been some changes in regards to the system that I want to talk about, although there is still some uncertainty down the road with the system, both in terms of intensity and the long-term track. So we're going to be primarily focusing on the system in this update, so let's get into it. Okay, now we're looking at the satellite imagery here. That is where our disturbance is located, and as we can see, it is not looking good at all. It is not producing or sustaining rather a whole lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. And that is primarily because of the plethora of dry air which is in the vicinity of the system. So we're going to be looking at these different parameters in a moment, but elsewhere, we can see that frontal feature offshore the U.S., which actually extends down to parts of Florida and is still influencing a whole bunch of moisture there, which is helping to fuel that rainfall and thunderstorm activity. And speaking of, in the Caribbean, there's been a lot of heavy rain in parts of Cuba and Jamaica, especially in our western parishes. It's been quite active as expected, with all that lingering moisture towards Central America. Also seen some thunderstorms this afternoon, and also towards parts of South America. For other places, such as a couple of spots in Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, there's been a couple of thunderstorms around as well. For much of the lesser Antilles, nothing too crazy. ABC Islands in the clears, we don't see much happening. There is a tropical wave in the Eastern Caribbean, so some of that convection is associated with it. And as it continues to propagate west, it could definitely help to influence the rain for other areas, parts of the Northern Caribbean, such as Hispaniola, and eventually as it passes by Jamaica and towards Central America. Now, talking a bit more about 91L. So the formation chance, it still has a high chance, but the thing is there's been a drop off in that formation potential over the next 7 days. So the chance was at 90%. It's been downgraded to 70%. And with how the system has been performing, I wouldn't be surprised if in the updates later today, it's either holding at 70% or down to 60%. I would not be surprised if that is the case, because a lot of dry air is infiltrating the system and really help to strip it of all of that convection. And by the way, if you watch that video I linked in the pinned comment yesterday that is on my second channel about tropical waves, there's a portion of it in the later part of the video where I actually explain that this tends to happen a lot, where the dry air infiltration results in very limited shower and thunderstorm activity. So that's what we're seeing now of this tropical wave, and I'm expecting that it is going to be struggling over the next couple of days. So we will definitely likely see a delay in the development of the system. I'm not really expecting much from it over the next few days, but as we head into next week, if the conditions improve, then we can certainly see it try to take advantage of that and become something. So let's take a look at the conditions out there. First, we've got the dry air map, and we can see the dry air marked by these different colorful shadings, yellows, oranges, reds. The system is right in there, so we see that a lot of dry air is around it right now, and that is helping to limit all of that shower and thunderstorm activity. However, the sea surface temperatures are very warm, but as I always emphasize, it's not just about the sea surface temperatures, because let's be so for real, if it was just the sea surface temperatures, almost every tropical wave off of Africa that comes off and moves west would become a major hurricane if it was just up to those sea surface temperatures. But there are many other factors that come into play. The dry air is definitely one of them, and those upper level winds as well. So there are different factors which help to influence development. So ahead of it, this will be helping out to result in a whole lot of wide-scale evaporation to help form those clouds and thunderstorms. But if we have a lot of dry air infiltrating the system continually, they may not be sustained. So let's see how it holds up over the next couple of days. And in regards to our model data, we've got the track guidance here. So models are kind of tightening up a bit in terms of the eventual track of the system. So they're expecting that maybe for the next 3 to 4 days, it will continue generally westward, but start to move more to the west-northwest as we head into the next 5 days or so. around that time when it will be approaching the Caribbean. So it's likely to enter the region. We have almost all our models here, all but one, showing that the system is going to be entering the Eastern Caribbean around Wednesday, Thursday of next week, around that time there. And as it relates to development, as I mentioned, I'm expecting a delay in development, and we are seeing that here on the intensity guidance. So that green shaded area represents tropical storm intensity. And there we have the forecast time. So we have some of our models here that want to keep the system fairly weak and generally below tropical storm status, but the bulk of them expect that as we head into maybe the next 3 days or so is when the system may have a shot at making it to tropical storm status. So around early next week, we'll see how that goes for the system. Again, there's been that drop off in the formation chance, and if it doesn't really close off itself and try to just develop and take advantage of those very warm waters as well, it may not become a very significant system. And that's one of the good things about it. I'm not expecting very quick development or an intense system as it moves across the tropical Atlantic. Entering the Caribbean or even moving just north of the Caribbean, though, would be a completely different story, especially with those water temperatures being much warmer and the possibility of a more conducive environment overall. So, as I mentioned, that is long-term. Nothing is set, nothing is solid just yet. But one of the things I've seen, even with the model runs, is the fact that they're not showing a very strong system as it approaches the Caribbean. But we don't want to underestimate it because of that. We've seen tropical waves cause major flooding. We've seen depressions and weak storms result in a lot of damages and fatalities simply because of the kind of impacts. A whole plethora of rain, and especially with the slower systems that are not moving very quickly, those help to bring a lot more rain, and that brings the threat of flooding, those landslides, mudslides. So we definitely do not want to underestimate the system as it approaches, even if it does not quickly develop into something. However, as what we're seeing now with all that dry air infiltration, if that should continue as the system approaches, then a lot of the associated convection at the time could fall apart and there could be minimal impact. So there's also that possibility on the table. So definitely a lot to watch over the coming days, guys. However, that is where we're going to be tracking it. I've been doing that for the past several days, and I will continue to do so, especially as it nears the Caribbean. But that is pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. And I do hope you found this update to be informative. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'll get to you when I have the chance to do so. Again, you can visit that link in the pinned comment. That will take you to my newest video on my second channel, which gives you a brief overview of what exactly is a tropical wave. So you can go ahead and check that out. And remember to always be weatherwise.